Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to TFYLP episode 160. Tonight, we've got Don, we've got Jim, I'm Rick, and hosting He's in the Hot Seat, Michael Swift. Michael, I just want to tell you that if tonight doesn't go well, this might be the last time we see you on the show. So I just want to wish you the very best in all your hosting duties tonight. And with that, I turn it over to you. Remember, don't screw it up.
And remember, the power is yours.
And friendship is magic?
Yes.
Alright, well, don't screw it up starting now. Go.
Wait, you don't like My Little Pony jokes. Alright, so this week we have a fine topic because a green menace has swept over the country in the form of Titan Devastator, and so we're going to talk it out. I know that me and Rick have Devastator, and what about you, Don? Have you gotten it in yet? Sweet! So, we're 3 for 4, I think. What about you, Jim? I know you didn't bring it with you to the airport.
Did he arrive?
I got Devastator. I'm sorry, Defensor.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Defensor.
Hey, let's just mention that Jim's house is currently without power because he didn't pay his bills. So he's at the airport right now.
Because he bought Devastator.
Yeah, I actually,
Your Wi-Fi.
I'm like half a mile from the airport.
Oh, no.
Oh! La Migra! Immigration caught him! He was stealing the Wi-Fi! He was stealing the Wi-Fi and they caught him! Somebody at the airport is watching this show live. Alright. Michael.
Alright, so now we're down to
back
3.
from the zone of no Wi-Fi. Why don't you lead the discussion?
Alright, so first off, I have to say that I thought I was going to hate this guy because, I don't know, because he was so
I'm back
big,
apparently.
but he's freaking awesome. There are some glaring flaws with it. I'm not going to say that it's absolutely amazing, but you're back, Jim, yes.
Cool.
But,
Sorry, connection sucks.
I mean, when I opened this thing up and, started pulling it out, I was amazed by how big they were. And I mean, that's still one of my complaints. I still kind of wish it was a little smaller, but man, it looks really cool, especially with Metroplex. I do have.
Yeah, I'm of the mentality, and with all the Combiner Wars, they look really cool individually, and they just don't do it for me combined. Even Devastator, he's got some great size to him, but he just doesn't do it for me combined. When I look at other things like Hercules and Green Giant, I don't know if it's because I've spent hundreds of dollars on these items, but I just prefer my third-party guys combined, and I like all these guys and in their individual robot modes. It feels cleaner for me. Like, Hasbro did a really good job of making these guys individual robots. I think they could only do so much with the combined mode.
Yeah.
Because of their limitation with parts counts and paint apps. And of course, their whole pricing structure. So, Devastator for me, they're going to exist on my shelf in all 6 robot modes and not combined.
Yeah, so and that's probably a good use for them for those that have the third-party figures, because the one thing with the third-party figures I've always seen, I don't own one, but looking at them online, is that the individual robots just don't look anything like the Constructicon.
That's very true. Yeah.
And they do, like, they scream like they jumped out of a comic book or the cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are perfect representations for the most part of the comic, or for the cartoon. I wish Long Haul was a different size and a different body, but it is what it is, and you know what? He's the biggest fail, but he can go in the back behind all the other guys.
Yeah. But it's sort of like a triple changer. Whenever you have a triple changer, you usually have one really good mode, you have one mode that's not bad, and the other mode is sacrificed for the other two. It's just sort of the way the physics works out to get that much in one body. I think what they did was they looked at Devastator as a whole and said, what one figure needs to be as simple as possible and do the most. And naturally, that's long haul, because he supports everything, provides the leg movement, provides the waist movement. So I mean, it makes the most sense to have him suffer the most, but it's still not a bad figure. The hands, we'll talk about that in a little bit. The floppy hand, no, that's not. But again, parts count, cost, things such as that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like him. I wasn't sure what to expect after seeing so much stuff since February up to now. I didn't want to be overloaded on Devastator basically, and then be overhyped on him. I like him. He's solid. I'm going to use a word it's not the best word, but I can't think of another word for it. Maybe y'all can. He feels very play school, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He's chunky. The plastic is a thick. I don't know. It's just. It feels like this guy could take a really good beating, and still be functional. It's just. Again, play school is the only word I can think of.
So, I kind of feel the same way, but I'll say it a little differently. That despite these characters looking the way they did on the television series, and kudos to the designers for making that choice and for using that as their reference, it does feel like a young person's toy. It doesn't have necessarily the complexity that I would expect from a Generations figure.
All right.
And
again, that's not a slight. To me, that's not a slight at all. It's just the nature of the beast.
But for the price you're paying, and for what you're getting for that price, compared to the Takara version, where you get the additional articulation and the additional weapons, I think it's very fair criticism.
Yeah, they do feel like a set of 6 of those Prime simplified Voyagers that just happen to combine in the Devastator. They definitely don't hold water compared to the Voyagers that we've been getting in the Generations line.
No, I think if you purchase one of these on their own, and I think they did the right move by putting them packaged together, you purchase one of these on your own, I think I would feel slighted for the price that these would cost.
Yeah. But, now, Rick, with you having actual experience on the backside of these figures, you may tell me I'm wrong here, but basically, they had to look at this guy in the box as a case of 6 figures. Because we know they do that. We know they look at the toys on a wave, on a case assortment. That's why the Viacon, because they didn't back there in Prime, everybody loved that Viacon, the second version of the Viacon from Prime, but he was only packed 1 per case because they didn't know how it was going. That's what I was told at BotCon. They didn't know how the Viacon Trooper would sell. That's why he was packed at 1 per case. So if they look at this as an overall case of 6 figures, they had to get the case to balance out with, in this case, adding a box to it. So, but I think for the money, if you want a Devastator that you can pull apart and you can enjoy, and you don't feel... I mean, I love Hercules. I have Hercules. I have Giant. But they're not figures I pull apart on a regular basis and fiddle with.
Because they have a certain complexity to them.
Yeah.
And there's a certain engineering that's attached to those figures that is... it's time-consuming and it's technical. And I think you're right in saying that these are very much figures that you can pull apart, play with, transform it to robot, now it's combined. But at the same time, for the price you're paying, I think basically you're just getting the size of Devastator. That's really what you're getting. Because I am disappointed that you're not going to get the extra articulation, and then you're not going to get the individual weapons, additional paint apps, and quite frankly, after playing with mine today, mine seems to come apart very easily. The ball joints seem to pop off very easily, especially on Scrapper and Scavenger. But I've had something pop off of every single toy in the set that I got today.
That's weird. I haven't had. I had one arm pop off a Scavenger, and that was just me being distracted by Massey jumping on my lap. It's like, what? Oh, okay. So, but
Michael, have you had any with it falling apart?
I think I've had Scavenger's arms pop off on me while transforming them. But I actually have a different problem in that I can't actually get these pieces apart anymore. Once I clip them together, this is permanently stuck in that chest piece. Like, it's never coming out. I started to stress the plastic trying to get it out, so I was like, I'm not even going to try anymore.
Is there a way to get in from behind it and to push it out instead of pulling it?
I tried, but it's got that big peg there.
Yeah. Well,
it's really hard to get down in there.
Maybe like on those pliers or something.
Yeah. Well, actually, probably the simple solution is just leave it in the sun for a few minutes, or take a hairdryer and heat it up just a little bit.
Yeah, but the point is, you shouldn't have to do that on a toy that costs this much money. Well, especially if you think about it. If you think about it from a kid's perspective, a kid's going to pull on this, and now I'm having the same problem too. I've never tried to pull these off, but I have the same issue with it. From a kid's perspective, they're going to try and pull on this, and they're going to stress it, or they're going to break it, and now they're going to have this giant $160 toy that has a broken piece.
Yeah, and I mean, and that the chest piece is kind of essential to sort of giving more structural integrity to the combined torso, and to hide this giant gap here. And so it's one of those things that you don't want that breaking, and I'm like, so I can't ever take that apart and use them as like weapons for the individual robots, because I want to make sure that Devastator, which is how I'm going to normally display him, has a chest piece.
Well, if I may give my perspective, being that I don't actually own the figures just yet, so far I have sat there and watched the original the review from China, the two-part review that first debuted last month, I think.
Yeah.
And then just last night, as kind of a refresher, I viewed the review that Optibotomist did on YouTube and checked that out. I think it was over an hour long. But it was pretty in-depth, and some of the things that impressed me about it is not only do they capture the spirit and the feel of how they appeared in the show, they are also incredibly, incredibly close and faithful to the original toys as well. Even down to little details like, for instance, on the front of Hook, on his shins, you have the silver detailing that's below the thigh that is supposed to, I guess, resemble an additional length of the thigh as if it were on the original toy. Long Haul, for instance, how you were talking about it being all stocky and having stubby legs and all that. But I equate that to more how in the G1 toy, Long Haul had those massive legs, and was a wider, more blocky Constructicon compared to some of the rest of the figures. Not to mention he was kind of the brute and the grunt muscle of the team anyway, that always did all the lifting and complaining and all that. But what I think impressed me the most was the fact that they went away from any of.
There he goes again.
Oh man, Hasbro caught up with him. They didn't like what he was saying. All right,
You gotta
so
love that.
yeah, to kind of reiterate what Jim was saying, yeah, I do think there is a certain amount of faithfulness, and I do give Hasbro and Takara a lot of credit for that. Um, these did come out very well, but again, I think for the price that you're paying, and for the individual complexity of these, compared to what the Japanese market is getting, and then compared to the third-party market, you're kind of.
Hi.
I think
Sorry.
this is kind of like the best that they'll be able to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna give Hasbro credit for something as well. In the overall combiner world that they inhabit, look how far they have come since Fall of Cybertron Bruticus in just what, 3 years?
Yeah.
I mean, they have really turned all of their thought processes inside out on how to make these combiners work. And for whatever issues each combiner has, whatever Devastator, Minosaur, Defensor, Skirl, whatever they all have as individual faults, the sheer complete 180 on the combiner concept has to be. I have to give them credit for that.
And we have to give them all credit we have to give all that credit to Power Core Combiners, right?
You know, it's sort of see, Power Core Combiners kind of prove what Aaron Archer was saying. First wave, you start it off, you're not quite sure what you're going to get. Second wave's a little better. Third wave, you start hitting your stride, then you're canceled. So you know, it's sort of. I think if we got another wave of Power Core Combiners, they would have been even better than Grimstone and Steamhammer.
Yeah, but you know what? I think, and I'm sorry, my daughter's with me. It's just us in the house tonight.
I never apologize for that.
So I was scared, and so she's keeping me. I heard a noise. She's keeping me safe. I look at the first wave of the Combiner Wars, and they came out great. I mean, I really love those area bots.
Definitely.
So if that theory holds true, then by the end of Combiner Wars, as we move into Titan Wars, we should see some pretty amazing combiners. Right. However, I think we've seen all the combiners that we're going to see.
Except for the Technobots that may fall under the Titan Wars banner, even though they're not Titans. But that's the same reasoning as Megatron's that are Combiner Wars. He's not a combiner.
True.
But I'm definitely. I know the Technobots is what. Well, Paladin from Superhero Time is really looking forward to the Technobots, and I hope we do get them. Well, I mean, we've seen Scattershot. I just really can't imagine them doing Scattershot like a Cyclonus figure. You know, just a standalone core with no add-on characters.
Well, never say never. I mean, they've done some other weird stuff in the past too. So.
Oh yeah.
I think it's very possible that could end up being the case, but hey, I'm hoping for the rest of the Technobots.
Yeah.
And if we don't get them from Hasbro or Takara, you can pretty well guarantee that we'll get them for the third-party guys in Combiner Wars styles.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Technobots will happen because I mean, if they did Scattershot and not the rest of them, it would be bad. It would be so horrible.
I mean, how would it be? It would suck. It would suck for us as the fan, as the consumer, but for the little kid who doesn't know who the Technobots are, it doesn't suck. And I mean, at least we get a really cool scatter shot out of it. And you know, the third-party guys will come back and they'll deliver the rest of the figures to us.
Well, now that's the one thing I've joked about this in the past, but you know, Cyclonus doesn't have his own team. Because he does the whole mind control thing, you know, he's been talked to Mind Taker, I guess. But
they could do
Mind Talk. Mind Taker.
But you know, everyone talks about how they want to get like Cyclonus's Armada for limbs for Galvatronus, and I'm thinking someone at Hasbro, and I told this to them at BotCon. If you hear us talking about this out on the interwebs, this is what we mean. We want to get some Cyclonuses, maybe some Scourges as well. My biggest fear is we're going to get a set of 4 Armada Cyclonuses modified as limbs. which I told them that's not what we're talking about. Just to let you know, we do not want a 4-pack of Armada Cyclonus. That's not.
That's
what
how Heatwave ended up in like the Hero Masters line.
I could see them doing that with Alpha Bravo though.
Oh, 4! Oh my gosh!
Cyclonus.
Do you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Machine Rubber Rescue from Japan. Machine Rubber Rescue had like the Fightor figure.
I know, just the one you're talking about.
So, yeah, I think there's a good chance that could definitely happen, and there'll be like no retooling because apparently that's the only figure that they can't retool. every single Blades has the same. It's like you have 2 heads, but nothing else has changed on that figure.
Well, now remember on Victorion they remolded the arms and took off the rescue missiles.
Well, yeah, they did, but I'm like, I wanted to see them change.
Didn't they do that for Vortex too?
What's that? No, Vortex
arm.
has the same molding. He doesn't even get his own unique head. He's just straight up.
We'll get the Takara version in the same way that we get Groove.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was someone besides Victorion's helicopters that had the missiles removed as well.
Nah, so far they all have the missiles.
Yeah, so what is the deal with Victorion? Is it that, because I couldn't tell by looking at the pictures, is that it's 2 Alpha Bravos, but one has the one head and the other has the other head, but the paint on the bodies
all
is
the
the
heads are
same?
new, aren't they?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure every head is new on that set. I'm fairly certain. I know one of the cars has the like the Nightbird head.
Yeah, I did notice that, but like the Alpha Bravo, I think the Alpha Bravo uses one of the existing heads then, and has another new head on it. But I wonder like how that's going to be packaged. Like, I can see it being very confusing for people if both those Alpha Bravo figures for Victorion come out at the same time, and they're both in the same package with the same deco, and the only thing different is the head. Like, I can see people being very confused by that, and not really paying attention to the name on the card.
On the Victorion set, on the figures, it looked as though the paint deco was vaguely similar, but yet distinctly different enough to not be easily confused.
Yeah, so I'm looking at them right now, and they have heads that look very close to the Blades and the Alpha Bravo head, but they're definitely remolded with more feminine faces.
Yeah.
Feminine faces. But yeah, they do have almost feminine M&Ms. They do have almost identical paint jobs, and
I think one thing about Victorion, not to get too far off subject, but Victorion is one of those things we're going to have to see like some in-hand video or in-hand photos, because those colors are just so hard to get photographed properly. So, I think a lot of people will change their mind once we see them like, here are actual toys.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There's a difference between something that's hand-painted versus something that's molded in that color.
Yeah. So you guys have to tell me, so this is the first Devastator I've owned. And when I first opened him, I thought, dang, that's a really light green. Is this accurate to...
The green is a lighter shade than the G1 toy.
Is it?
I think they went more of a cartoon green than they did the toy green. It's not too far away from it, but it is a bit lighter. Not sure on the purple, though. Purple might be...
What? He's gone again. They keep cutting, like his quarters keep running out. The meter's gone.
Now, one thing about Devastator is that if you like this Devastator, but you want more Devastator in your life, you should go to CapturedPrey.com, check out the great selection of all the stuff they have there. You can find something in the lime green family that will be Devastator-ish. Great toys, great prices, great service. CapturedPrey.com. If you want a vintage Devastator, I'm sure Mega Toy Fan could hook you up with that. You know, maximize your collection, minimize your cost over at Mega Toy Fan, who is at TFCon this weekend, and we wish him a lot of fun and a lot of luck.
And so is Captured Prey.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Captured Prey is there as well. So tell the guys at both we said hey, and we hope that they have a great show. Just segued into that right there.
And just ask them for something green. They'll know what you mean.
Yeah.
Seems like every time I start to talk about Devastator, my connection dies.
Would you say your connection gets devastated?
Devastated.
See, me and Tom are going for the same bad pun joke.
I don't know. It could be one of those drill missiles from G1. Your connection could get screwed. I don't know.
Well, I'll say this: I like this Devastator, but I will say Rick does have some points on the complexity versus the price. The Takara version. Now we're seeing that roughly $199 to $230 is what we're seeing in most places. Let me ask y'all this. You know, for let's say $200 is a median, okay? For the $60 or $70, the difference plus the shipping. What do y'all think about the? I'm getting the Takara version, but I'm wondering what do y'all think as far as the money and the shipping difference? Is it worth getting?
I think that depends, varying on the retailer. I know there's one retailer I heard of. I can't swear to, but I want to say it might have been Captured Prey, Great Toys, Great Prices, Great Service, that had free shipping. But I don't quote me on that. I might want to check on that. But it would vary on the retailer. Because a lot of them already have it in stock. And they could be closer to your location based on where you live, or they could be farther. But I want to say that there are free shipping or reduced shipping options, if I'm not mistaken.
So I'm really curious on the Takara version because I know they're adding some articulation in, and I want to see what kind of tolerance they add to Scrapper to give him elbows that will still support this guy. Because I know even every now and then Scrapper's arms start to move on mine when I'm posing him, and then Devastator doesn't want to quite stand right.
Well, I would imagine they would probably have some kind of small peg built into like the forearm or the bicep, one of the two.
Yeah, I would hope it would be more than that because they have small pegs up here, and then this just flops around all the time.
Yeah. Although I have to say though, and I think I started saying this earlier, I can't even remember now. As far as this Devastator figure, what impresses me the most is the fact that they, even though it's Devastator, they still went out of their way in a Combiner Wars line to still stay away from that Scramble City style and try to not only adhere closely to the original combination method of the original Devastator figures, but the ways in which they utilize the combinations and everything has a spot in such a complex degree, like the way the legs connect.
Yeah, exactly.
The figure's leg opens up and connects into the outer part of Longhaul's leg, and they lock together like that. The chest plate in its 3 sections hooks onto Hook in like several spots, Longhaul in a few places, and also the treads on Scavenger and Bone Crusher, and holds them all solidly. Not to mention, those treads also hook onto Longhaul's arms. I mean, the whole thing is. It may take a while to combine it, but it's solid. As many ways there are to lock it in, it's not going to fall apart. Not like maybe ball joints here and there, but it's a very solid looking piece.
Yeah, the chest shield is
right.
the one.
I mean, the only thing that fell off was his gun, which has no pegs for the hands, but he is a solid figure when he's combined.
Yeah, the chest shield was the only frustration I had, because that reminded me of a couple of figures in the past where you had to. It's like Star Wars Darth Vader. that he transformed into the Death Star on the Star Wars Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
You get when you go into Death Star mode, you have to get all these panels lined up just right, and then fuse them all together, or they start popping one after the other apart. That was kind of like this. I'd get one peg, one would pop out. I would get two peg, the middle would pop out. So that was the one frustration, but it was a minor frustration. But that's the only thing that gave me a little bit of moment.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit of a pain the first time, and then I find once you get it down the first time, and if you just work from one side to the other, because I find that starting over here is much harder than the other side. If you just work it one side to the other, it goes on pretty easily. But it was definitely the first time was. It wasn't. That was like the only real hiccup. The instructions weren't super clear on the connections from long haul to hook. But once I got all that figured out and I got that chest piece on, it really wasn't too hard to combine. And I mean, I just did it. You know, I took them apart several times today and put them back together. And it's like, well, it's really fun and easy to do once you do it once.
So now that we've kind of talked about the U.S. versus the Japanese version, is anyone here going to get the third-party accessory sets?
I'm getting the Japanese version. That has all that I really need to make, because I'm going to leave him in Devastator mode, leave the Japanese Constructicons in their individual modes with the weapons. Depending on the visual difference between the two Devastators, I may switch them out every now and then. It's just for grins and giggles. But I don't plan on getting the third party because it'll make this the same price as what the Takara version would be. So
true, it'll make it the same price, but what are you getting for that? You know, what are you getting for that? I'm a big fan of IDW. I love the comic books, so I'm really looking forward to the set that has that prowl head. So that's the head that's going to be displayed on my Devastator in my generation's toy shelf.
And see, that's what's weird is because since I don't read IDW, and yes, I know I should be reading it. I can hear everybody yelling at me now. I should be reading it. I'm not. I got you. Cool. But that may be why this set has no hold for me, is because I don't have. That's why the Brainstorm, when it came out, I wanted the Brainstorm just because it's a Headmaster, and you know me and Headmasters. But from the IDW standpoint, it held no meaning to me from IDW standpoint.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the upgrade set just for Devastator, not the arms or the weapons for the individual bots. I mean, you're getting the better forearms, you're getting the correct color hands with the super articulation in the hands, and you're also getting a piece which I really am looking forward to, which is another reason why I don't have my one loose set combined, is the whole club foot thing. You get that piece that covers this part to make it more G1-esque.
Yeah, so I've said it before, I don't really buy third-party. The only third-party sets I've ever bought was the Unicron.com animated Allspark set and the iGear Cup head replacements. So very minor to no third-party. But that Prowlistator, just the Prowlistator head alone, is tempting me so bad to get that set. Because I also, from what I've read of the IDW comic books, I really love them. I'm a little bit behind now, but it's great stuff. And I was kind of wondering what the chance is probably low, but it couldn't be too hard for them to engineer a prowl that takes Hook's place. Like, the chances are low that Hasbro does that, but
see, that's where it gets into. All right, it's a shame that for the fanboy, it's a shame that, or fangirl, It's a shame that you can't swap out the limbs on Devastator the way you can with other Combiner Wars figures. Because in the story, once Scrapper is killed, Hook becomes that leg, and Prowl becomes the centerpiece with the head. And vice versa, when Scoop joins the team, he then becomes the leg. So I wish I could have that interchangeability on some of the figures that exist with the other Combiner Wars stuff. Not necessarily putting the Combiner Wars toys on Devastator, but just amongst Devastator itself, being able to swap out some of the characters.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, see, honest to me, that again, it is all personal preference with what you were saying earlier, Rick. To me, that swappability, that makes him less Devastator to me. And again, I'm not a G1 purist. You know, the original Robots in Disguise is one of my favorite series of all times, and my favorite toys. Everyone knows how much I love Fire Convoy. But I think if this Devastator did that, I wouldn't like it as much as it did, because it's not Devastator. Devastator has a certain 6 robot combination, which is very unique in the mythos. They all have specific places in the combination.
But Don, it's unique because that's the only way the toy could combine.
Well, I'm old and
in the mythos,
so
in the current mythos, that idea changes.
Right, which is great for those people that are newer, younger, hipper.
Stop living in the past, man.
I'm living in the past because this is my Devastator. In my 14-year-old head, 15-year-old head, when I got Devastator, this is what this thing was in my mind. This giant behemoth of destruction, and I finally got it.
Yeah, but it's like any other of the Scramble City Combiners. They were really only in the show one way, and that's probably how most of us have them combined. But we still always have the option of swapping them around, except for the center torso.
I'm just glad he doesn't have the ability, because it would, like I said, it would make him less Devastator to me. But again, that's just me. I'm old and crotchety. Get off my lawn!
Get off my Devastator.
And you wonder why you're single.
Not really.
But yeah, part of me wants to hold out the hope that they release a Hook that can turn into a leg and a Prowl that can turn into the upper torso, but I know that's never going to happen.
Hey, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if there's a third-party company out there seeing all the stuff that's being made in the third-party community that's based off the IDW. If you get a Prowl, that at least becomes the chest. I would also love to get someone to paint one of these up as Dead Scrapper for me.
So you want someone to buy a whole Devastator set, get rid of the rest of it, and just paint up that wood scrapper?
No, I'd paint it up and then I'd combine them so that he's dragging that one leg.
That would be pretty fun.
But that's the way I like to display my toys. I like to do dioramas. I like to display them in a sense that harkens back to the fiction that I know and love of those characters, whether it's G.I. Joe, Thundercats, or He-Man, or my Transformers. Oddly enough, not so much with my Transformers. But I think in that case, I really want a Dead Scrapper I can hook up to the Devastator. And if I had still been at Hasbro when we were doing the unnecessary green repaint of Devastator for San Diego Comic-Con, I would have fought tooth and nail to get that Dead Scrapper in there.
Well, anything's better than that. Or you could have had Dad Mixmaster and not had all that chrome on the drum. But speaking of paint, I want to bring up something that we have not gotten yet, which we thought would be a sure thing by this point, but it's not. Where are our G2 Devastators?
Well, I've seen some customs online already, but are you talking about official release?
I mean, officially, where are our yellow and our orange Devastators?
Well, dude, the figure just came out. Like, it's just
that's no excuse.
It's still hitting the market in some places, and if you look at the timing of the G2 Superion and Menasor sets, I mean, those from Hasbro's distribution point of view, those sets have come and gone. So they're looking now that it's the proper time to announce that, hey, those figures will come out again in these other colors.
Right.
I
was just kidding mostly because I know it's all a matter of
time. Don't kid. Don't kid about G2.
My answer is he's chumming around with Metro Titan. Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, there's a buddy comedy I'd love to see.
Is with Metro Titan. You want to talk about things we'll never get? Yeah, there you go.
That's a buddy comedy I like to see. But, I mean, it's just, I think so many of us were so sure G2 Devastator would be one of the San Diego exclusives. We were just, it was so obvious.
But why would you be surprised seeing what they did with Metroplex last year? Or the year before? Like, that's
because they wouldn't do the same thing twice. Not that soon. You know, they want to keep it fresh and different.
If it works, if it's not broken, why fix it? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Oh, I know, and you're
that's
right.
All
I mean,
doing.
I
love G2, and I would love to have a G2 set of every designer.
Well, see, that's what I said last week. You have the insider information on how this stuff is looked at on the production side. That we as fans, we see something as obviously blatant, take my money and shut up kind of thing. But for them, it's not as clear cut.
Well, and you have to remember that at San Diego Comic-Con, they're not trying to sell to Transformers fans. They're trying to push the stuff on comic book fans. And
it's a public relations event. That's what it is. You're absolutely right, Mike. That's what it is. It's strictly public relations.
Yeah, it's not really about us anymore.
So how do most people? How do most people look at Devastator? I'm sorry. I think we lost Jim again. Did we? All right. So how do most people look at Devastator? They think of Devastator as being green.
No, I'm here. I was thinking I lost you guys.
All right, go ahead, Jim. You were saying something?
I thought Devastator was yellow and red with a green leg.
He's breaking up pretty bad.
Jim!
Anything?
Jim!
Nothing?
Jim!
You're not truly outrageous. Try again.
Oh, okay.
Move
Let me try to reconnect. This is assuming that you guys are actually screwing with me.
You gotta be careful what you suggest to him, Don.
Remember what the white zone is for.
Well, keep in mind I do work here, so I mean, couldn't rule anything.
Well, then you should know where the good Wi-Fi is.
Hey, you heard me.
Isn't there a Panera or an Au Bon Pond?
Yeah, there's the second one.
Just
right,
go find the nearest
Devastator.
captain's club and try to hog off the internet through the wall.
Yeah, they have free alcohol.
I'm right by one of the Wi-Fi things in the ceiling. So.
Try yelling at it.
That's some really crappy Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I know. Of course, there's a lot of layovers tonight too because of the storms. So a lot of people are probably using it. But as far as Devastator goes, though, we're G2. I'm not ruling it out. I fully anticipate a yellow one. I'm not sure orange one. That's iffy, maybe. Based simply on the fact that they went out of their way to do a G2 Superion and a G2 Menasor. And I'm anticipating possibly a G2 Bruticus because of that. A Devastator as well.
Oh, I hope so.
Jim, I don't think they've gone out of their way. I think they're just looking at it as how can we use these tooling in a new way that would somewhat make sense to at least part of our consumer base. I don't think it's them going out of their way at all. I think it's them just
They were said to have gotten a G2 Superion to match the colors.
Yes. Okay. Well. Okay. In that respect, they did go out of their way to make it as accurate as possible. Yes. In that way, you're absolutely correct. But as far as a yellow Devastator, just by looking at the colors on these guys, and this is just the designer in me talking. just by looking at the colors on these guys, I would say an orange Devastator is much more likely to happen, just because a yellow Devastator would be, I think, a little too close to this.
Yeah.
What if they did be like a dark yellow or kind of a burnt yellow, so it's kind of orange, kind of yellow? That'd be a good compromise, I think. And it lightens the shade a little bit.
I want him to look like he just had, a fight in the mud, and just be turd brown.
Well, in that case, you might as well just make most of them yellow with a red torso and a green leg. Yep.
What do you think the chances are we get Revenge of the Fallen colors?
That's what I was going for with that.
That would not surprise me at all.
With that.
Well,
It still boggles my mind, though, that Revenge of the Fallen Devastator had 2 wrecking balls, and none of those vehicles used a wrecking ball.
Yeah, Michael, if that happens,
it's like
I will come find you.
I don't blame you. You can direct all your hate to me on the Facebook page on the link.
Now I know a bunch of people want several people that I know in person and online. They want the Diaclone colors, but that would be such a niche market. I mean, that would have to be like year 5 of the subscription service. So, something that.
Oh gosh.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't.
Those colors.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how else I'm just saying that you would have to have a collector outlet for that, or a store exclusive like eHobby for like the Diaclone set.
I don't think there's a collector outlet strong enough for that color scheme.
I gotta agree with you.
Oh, there's
Holy
2 gems.
cow.
Now there's 2 gems. Christ, they're multiplying.
Nice.
And they're both saying different things.
Oh.
How did they solve this on Star Trek?
They reversed the polarity of the neutron flow. Wait, that was Doctor Who.
I'm trying to remember, because there were 2 Picards.
Something with a tachyon beam.
Yeah.
And the deflector dish was involved, of course.
Didn't they send that shuttlecraft back out the bay and just...
Yeah. And then Deanna sent something.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then data malfunctioned because Android.
And then
I know,
the Death Star
think it's
blew up Alderaan, right?
I don't know. I still say Data's malfunctions are due to his cat Spot.
Oh, believe me, I can attest to that. All my malfunctions I attest to Massey.
Just like Massey.
Just like Massey. Well, I'll say this: I want, and I think several people like XV will back me up on this. I want everything Combiner Wars done in G2. Everything.
But would you say
Alpha
that?
Bravo.
Would you say that Victoriatron is the G2 color already, and you need a G1 version?
Yeah, if the colors work out, because to me those colors are basically quick switch colors. To me, anyway.
I mean, they really look South Florida colors to me. So I mean, it looks like those girls live in Miami Beach, Calle Ocho type of thing.
I could see that. I was thinking more of a kind of a Piranha-con-ish, but yeah, I can see quick switch.
Oh yeah, or Piranha-cons, yeah, like they got something going on with the Piranha, with the C-cons on the side, Let's look at online comments. Andrew Baith here. Sorry if I butchered that last name. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He says, and I quote, "I heard Betatron was used because beta is a hit, computer lingo for not finishing. Betatron will be Computron." Does that make sense? I mean, I recognize those words.
I've heard that before, but I don't get the logic train on that.
I don't know. The first thing that snapped to my brain when I saw the name was, after seeing Betatron, was Betamax, because he's a dead format. Obsolete.
Yeah, I don't.
The first thing I thought when I heard of Betatron was that it was just bad writing.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Somebody let the interns name it again.
We can't use Computron anymore. What should we call it?
Richard.
Let's call it Steve.
No, let's not.
Let's call it Plasticon.
We don't want to be a Richard. Oh God, is that
not us.
Plasticon?
It would be fit.
No,
the canon, though. Anyway.
We're just saying Plasticon might have been a better name than Betatron.
It probably would.
Well, I'll be honest.
Because it's not G2 colors.
Well, if it was in
It has to be
G2
colors.
if it was G2 colors, they could do a color reversal and color him as Abominus. That way you get a G2 and the Shattered Glass homage all in the same boy.
Unless they did like Shattered Glass G2.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That would absolutely make no sense. What is a Shattered Glass G2?
It would be
how do you
like
even do
dividing by
that?
0. You stick it in the Photoshop and you just invert the colors.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. If you colored Computron as Abominus in Abominus colors, you could call, and Abominus is some pretty bright colors on his own. So you could call that a G2 color and a Shattered Glass homage all in the same toy.
So would it come with a sticker sheet with both the G2 Decepticon symbol, or the G2 symbols, and the Shattered Glass symbols as well?
Both. I mean, if we're going to shoot for the stars.
Right.
Can I just say, please, no more Shattered Glass?
Don't look at me, man. I don't. I'm not on the council anymore.
Yeah,
the council.
Council.
The council.
To anyone, if anyone from the club is watching, no one wants it anymore. No one.
Sorry, I was listening to the voice of God in Spanish. What did you not want?
Shattered Glass. I said, please no
Nadie
more.
más quiere el vidrio roto. No more Shattered Glass.
Hola, mi amo es Piscina de la Muerta. No pantalones.
No pants.
Okay.
You're not wearing any pants in the airport. Okay.
That was my extent.
No, I am Deadpool without pants.
Okay. Well, okay.
That makes at least 2 people I know of who aren't wearing pants right now.
Well, no, I wear shorts. Shorts are not pants. They're shorts.
We don't need proof. We don't need proof.
Oh, do shorts count as pants now?
Well, that's getting a little too low. That's a little too much.
This is what happens when you let Michael host a show. This is the type of chaos that ensues.
I'm just
cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Okay, we want G2 Devastator. We want yellow and orange.
Well, you want G2 Devastator.
I would be good with a compromise, kind of a yellow-orange. If it was kind of a hue that lent itself to both, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that's true. You know, although I think if they did that, you would have some people I know their heads would implode because it would not be the right shade of either, and their heads would just get like bigger and bigger, and it would just go. Poof.
Well, so we have lime green Devastator, so we need tangerine Devastator.
Well, that's true.
All right, I'll even go as far as this. I would go ahead and buy another version of Devastator if it was dark green. Because this just reminds me of the TV show where I would really have been, especially for the combined mode, for the individual bots, I kind of like this color. But for the combined Devastator, I really would have liked to have had a darker color scheme.
I wonder how the Takara version is going to pair up, because we haven't really seen them side by side.
I suspect it's probably going to end up being toy-accurate shades, given their tendency to be more toy-accurate or what have you, on different things.
I think Takara tends to be more show-accurate, while Hasbro tends to be more toy-accurate.
Yeah,
but in this instance, it's kind of reversed.
Yeah, it depends on the item.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it's all right.
I mean, with the G2 stuff, I mean, it's always a possibility because they've sort of set up this, we're in a rare time where they're starting to try out this. Here are packages that are only available to online retailers, like the true fifth limbs for Superion and for Menasor.
Quickslinger and Breakneck.
Yeah, they were only released widespread to mass retail in a way, but it was only online mass retail.
Yep.
And they've already mentioned that that's what they're doing with the G2 Superion and the G2
Did they?
Menasor. Yeah, they said it was going to be.
I was not aware of that.
From what I remember, that they were coming as a box set, and they were going to be available to online retailers, much the same way that those limbs were. And I think that also includes Victorion. I don't think Victorion's going to be a mass release figure.
I hope it is. I really, really hope it is.
Because I thought they said something about it
out there. Again? Okay, good. Thought I froze again. Sorry.
You froze up. No, Jim or Rick froze up. Can you say that again?
Yeah. So I hadn't heard. Is Victoriatron coming in a set, or are they coming individually carded?
No, she is a set.
I think she's a set.
But given the fact that there was an article in USA Today about it, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that it's going to be mass retail, brick and mortar stores as well. Simply because of this being such an iconic step forward in the evolution of Transformers in general. To have it the first female combiner, I think they're going to really want to push this.
Yeah. And as a side note, if you had told me 10 years ago, when I was reading Toy Fair and Action Figure News and Toy Review, that USA Today would be giving all the breaking information out of Hasbro, I would have laughed. And
man, that is going back. I would bet most of our listeners probably don't even know what those magazines are. That's like the internet.
That's back when there was still such a thing as transfandom.com.
I've read about that in my history books.
Don't bring Jim. You know. I was on Transfandom.
I wonder what Taco Rick is doing.
That was before I ever registered a username. I would always just lurk on the news page and the front page and see what was coming out. I didn't actually join till 04.
Well, I'll say this. When I first started back in 96, 97, when I first got my connection, I got all my news from BigBot.com.
I remember
that.
Them and their registered URL of 2005board.com.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Well, I got to step away for a second.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Don't forget to flush twice.
Actually, I'm just going to step off to the side and use Massey's litter box.
That works too. Just kind of arc your leg and aim. Anyway. Wow, train of thought just turned orange and purple.
And brown.
Does the Astro Train have brown on it? Oh, I see. Never mind.
Probably the next repaint will.
Maybe the thrusters.
You mean the new Titan Wars Astro Train? They're going to base it off of the intern version and not the actual G1 version?
That's right.
Well,
not the Colin Wars version of Dawn.
Seeing as you brought up Titan Wars just now, I have an idea on what they're possibly maybe going to do. Hopefully, is how they said they don't really have plans to do Beast Transformers in the near future. Like Predaking, Abominus, and all.
Because they hate me.
Keep in mind too that they've said diddly squat on Combiner Wars, with the exception of having the background on that large poster at BotCon with those blueprints on it. And we do actually have a Beast in Combiner Wars. We have Skylinks. Granted, it's a remold of like Silverbolt, I think. But it's still.
No, yeah, he's a new mold.
Yeah, he's all.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm sorry. I hadn't looked at it that closely. but it's still Sky Lynx. That's your bird and your lynx. You got a four-legged cat there as part of it too. And
I don't think it has the cat version, right?
No,
I think that version is just the head of the combined mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically the combined
heads.
mode evokes the Lynx mode,
Right.
where individual robot mode is just his dragon mode.
Yes.
When they're combined together.
But take that and also factor in the fact that next year is going to be the 20th? Yes, 20th anniversary of Beast Wars. We have a figure in Skylynx that would very much do well, I think, as a Hunger if they were to do some heavy retooling to it. So I'm thinking that we may get an Abominus and possibly, who knows what else in Titan Wars that we're just not seeing yet.
Here's where I disagree, and this is where it comes from having been there as an employee and worked on the brand. Not to put you down in any way, Jim, but I was repeatedly told Beast Wars is off-brand. It's not really the message of the brand. And what is the message of the brand? Cars and planes that turn into robots. Not so much animals that cost $14.99, $22.99, and up that turn into into robots. So
yeah, I'm not saying
I would be very hard-pressed to say that there'll ever be. I could be way off, but I would be very hard-pressed to say that there will be a beast mode combiner in the future. I think Scattershot is probably the end of the combiners line, and then it goes into the Titan Wars thing. You'll see some re-releases. I think there's a good chance you'll see a re-release of Devastator in that line, but I just don't see them doing Beasts for the 20th anniversary. I think the car is going to do that with their masterpiece Optimus Prime, and I think that might be the end of it. I think that might be all we hear for the 20th.
Well, I was wondering about that, but I take into account too that in the past 2 years we've got Rat Trap, Rhinox, Waspinator, and Skybite, RID Skybite.
But
generations.
And my retort to that is that if you look at the Hall of Fame characters, who's been nominated for the Hall of Fame? Those characters.
I don't remember.
Except for Rhinox, who happened to be one of a particular designer who's not there anymore, happened to be his favorite character.
Okay.
And I would also say that
Voice of God.
Even as a Beast Wars fan, I don't think those toys sold well. They sort of clogged shelves.
Well, only certain ones, because whether you're a truck versus monkey person or not,
Trunky.
I really think that. I honestly feel, now Rick, you can back me up or deny it based on your sources and stuff, but I think Beast Wars actually saves the line, just with the whole different take. I mean, there's no denying.
It absolutely did save the line, but that's not where the line is now because of the films.
But
I still see Rhinox and Rat Trap on the shelves at my local toy stores.
Yeah, but I do hope we get at least more than just Prime. I mean, Primal. I hope he'll be a great masterpiece, but I do hope we get some. Because see, they completely missed the RID 15-year anniversary.
Okay, well, let's take a sidetrack and let's talk about RID. Remember that RID is a show that is not owned by Hasbro.
Right.
So why would they celebrate something that they couldn't? The show itself is not owned by Hasbro.
Okay,
so why would they really celebrate something in a commemorative masterpiece form, or even a Generations form that really? I mean, it's a series they don't have the legal rights to release on DVD.
So I was thinking that it was the audio that Saban did, the audio track that they didn't have the rights to, but that the animation itself was still, like Takara and all that. Didn't Saban do something similar to that with Power Rangers and Disney in that acquisition, where they had the video and the audio rights separate, so that when Power Rangers was bought by Disney or Saban, that Saban held on to the audio rights. I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was the background music track. I can't remember which.
I mean, those are elements that are easy to replace if you're willing to spend the money to replace them for a DVD release, but then you have to really look at what is that DVD release going to generate in terms of sales versus the time it takes to compose and rescore every episode and then remaster every episode for a DVD release. That's the reason why Headmasters, Master Force Victory, that's why they didn't get dubs when we released them on DVD here, because it just wasn't cost effective to do that.
Well, honestly, I would be okay if they even released a DVD in Region 1 of just car robots and just did not include the English dub at all. I'd be okay with that, like we did with Headmasters and Master Force and all that.
It's just...
There might be a distribution issue with that, but it's a complicated issue. It's a complicated issue, and unfortunately, I don't think there's anyone at Hasbro championing for that DVD release. While I was there, I was still trying to champion for animated Season 3 to be released on DVD. And, I mean, that's something that they have the rights to. But, I mean, you look at how long it took, and was it really worth what they probably got out of it in the end?
No, because that ended up being just an Amazon exclusive, wasn't it?
I think so.
I don't even think Shell
just came with the
full
set.
I want to say I saw it in brick and mortar. I know I saw the complete series at a Meijer, along with the was it Armada or Energon? It's one of those two. Saw it at a Meijer store in the electronics department.
Well,
that's been last fall.
You saw Armada. I'm sorry.
Armada wasn't at. There is a lot worse out of the Unicron trilogy than Armada.
But it's...
Hang on.
That's the siren to let them know that Jim's escaped.
No, I'm in the baggage claim, and that was the conveyor getting ready to move.
Uh-oh. It's sort of weird because Monday night I was the same way. We were getting ready to do There Goes My Money, and I had a horrible storm hit. I was without power for about 3 hours. I actually slept for about an hour and a half in the truck because it was warmer outside. I mean, it was cooler outside in my truck than it was in the apartment because I live in a second floor apartment with no air in July.
Yep.
Yeah, heat rises. Damn you, physics!
And what state do you live in?
Virginia.
There you go.
So it's not just heat. It's not just heat. It's humidity. So, but okay, yeah.
I don't want to hear anything about heat and humidity.
Yeah, but here we have a dry heat.
That's better than a wet heat. I mean, be glad. I step out my door and it takes about 0.5 seconds to start sweating.
Yeah.
Just all the water out of my body.
All right, so let me pose this question out to the group here. 20 years from now, Devastator, this current release of Devastator, is it going to be worth what we see G1 Devastator is worth in the package, sealed?
More.
You say more. Why?
I say more. Why? Because of its large size. First off, not a lot of people are probably going to pick it up at retail, aside from maybe collectors or families that are better off financially. So that's going to limit how many are out there. I guarantee you a good majority of those are going to get opened and played with. Boxes are going to be thrown away because there's no room for them in the kids' rooms, so on and so forth. But ultimately, it's going to boil down to, as far as Devastator, which incarnation of Devastator, if it's going to be the Takara, the SDCC, or the regular retail release. That's going to be a factor in it as well. But ultimately, because of the size, I think it's going to be worth more. Plus, the G1s are only going to last so much longer before they turn to dust. I mean, look at Hook.
Don, what do you think?
I think this Devastator is going to have the same life cycle or a close approximation to Fortress Maximus. Maybe not in dollar amounts, but you're going to see after this thing has run its course, like Metroplex, and they're just not being shipped anymore. You're going to see this thing slowly increasing in price over time because it is something of a unique piece. And some would call it this one in this car version would be a classics or a solid interpretation of G1 Devastator. I think you're going to see it go up in price. You'll see this car one go up in price probably a little bit more. And then 10 years down the road, they're going to do an encore. Or 15 years, they'll do an encore. Because by then the technology and the cost will have gotten so cheap, they could do one at a lower price and make lots of money on nostalgia. For kids that are 5 and 10 today, that'll be 20 and 25. Like, hey, I had that as a kid. And it's the same, and it's the same thing as Fortress Maximus. Maybe, like I said, not in terms of dollars, the same basic life cycle.
Michael, the Swiffer quicker picker upper. What do you think?
Well, you're just a bounty full of jokes tonight.
It's called being creative. Excuse me for being awesome.
No,
Sorry, voice of God again. No, I just got to say though, Don, you completely blew my mind with the concept of encore Combiner Wars.
Well, I'm just thinking.
I'm not ready to do that.
It's possible. Yet. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm not ready to accept it yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying by then the production technologies, the cost of materials will probably be a lot cheaper based on new technology, again, all that stuff. So they could reissue this cheaper than what going out and buying a classic version in the box.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm not ready for an orange, purple, white, and brown Devastator.
I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think it'll take very long for this to sort of become, if it's not already, the Devastator. If you show this as someone who had a interest in Transformers 20 years or 30 years ago now, that probably doesn't collect anymore, they would probably think that this was the Devastator that they owned as a kid.
Probably.
I mean, you get that all the time. Like, you hear stories about people would have, like, cable guys come into their house when MP20 or when MP1 was released, and they're like, "Oh, I had that as a kid." It's like, well, you couldn't have had that as a kid because it's a brand new figure, but that's what they believe.
That's why the San Diego Comic-Con Metroplex and Devastator wore those colors.
Exactly.
It's all about nostalgia. It's not about necessarily the collectors they're marketing to at those events.
Yep.
And I think at some point this is going to be the Devastator that's sought out as the Devastator to have if you want to have a Devastator.
Okay, so you're saying there's never going to be a Masterpiece Devastator, or would you say that this is the Masterpiece?
That would be an amazing thing.
I would, if I think there is, I'm not going to say I don't think there's going to be a Masterpiece Devastator. I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
Agreed.
I guess that all depends on if it becomes cost efficient enough to do that as in the future. And I mean, if that does, this thing will drop to nothing.
Yeah. I don't think so, because the prices on Fortress Maximus have dropped, but I think there's still going to be people out there from a collector standpoint that want the original toy in the original box. Again, it may not be a boatload of people, but I think there'll still be enough around that wants the toy they remember in the box they remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to agree.
And then Devastator is always going to be a popular enough character that someone is going to want to collect every version of Devastator they can get, and that's also going to help him keep value.
Yeah, but you say that, but remember that Devastator is not in any current cartoons, and he hasn't been. So what that's why I asked that question. Like, what is the future of that? Like the kids who grew up with Armada and the Unicron trilogy, like they're at that age where they can learn about G1 and they can kind of know about G1, and they had those kind of crappy combiners from the Unicron trilogy. But the kids that grow up with the current show RID, what are they going to know 20 years from now who Devastator is, and are they going to care?
Yeah.
I guess that all depends on this Machinima series, right?
Yeah. That's actually one thing that I've been kind of wondering about with this Combiner Wars and all that in this incarnation of generations. Because if you think about it, what we consider classics as a whole, the Chug overall, is a decade old. That started in 2006 with Bumblebee, Grimlock, Cliffjumper, Ramjet, and all them. And it kind of makes me wonder if this might be kind of a last hurrah for anything Generation 1 related, as far as classic incarnations of like Prowl and Trailbreaker and all this. Because we've been getting homage and reference and tribute and this, that, and the other in the toy lines and some of the shows for a few years now, and I'm wondering if it may not be getting ready to fizzle out and transition into something else. Because you notice the new RID, Optimus is not the leader, Bumblebee is. There's an entire completely different incarnation of Decepticons that we've not really seen a team like this before. I mean, sure, we've had Predacons, we've had animal teams like Predaking and Abominus and them and G1, and just on and on. But like, look at ones like Underbite or Long Rack, things like that. It is Long Rack, right? We do with the antlers.
Yeah.
Thunderhoof?
Yeah.
Thunderhoof.
That guy.
Yeah, Thunderhoof.
Yes, him.
Long Rack is the giraffe.
Yes, Long Rack.
But their robot modes are basically animals. They turn from vehicle to animal. We've not really had that. That's kind of a new thing as far as being called Decepticons and still having that. Sideswipe is...
Your attention, please. Your attention,
hang on, voice of God.
Paging Dr. Bombay, paging Dr. Bombay, emergency, come right away. Sorry, that's an old reference. None of you will get it. You're too young.
Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard. But yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe the G1 fans in their 30s and some even 40s and 50s, if it's getting to the point where anything Generation 1 is starting to kind of fade out, kind of like Star Trek original series had in favor of ushering in things like Next Generation and Enterprise and all that for the younger generations.
Well, I think that I think that's a good point that you bring up. That if you look at the merchandise that's really being sold for Star Trek, there's always that big push for the original series, right? So I think with G1, I think it'll be around for at least another 10, if not 15 years, getting Masterpiece toys or Encores or new interpretations in some way, somehow. 10 years definitely. 15 years kind of pushing it, but I would absolutely bet for the 40th, for the 50th anniversary, you're still going to get a G1 Optimus Prime. No questions asked.
Yeah. Beyond that, though, you're getting to the point where everybody's in senior citizen, nursing home, wheelchair, what have you, or dead.
Well, you look at Godzilla, and you look at how old that brand is, and you still get those Godzilla figures back from the early films. So it's going to be real interesting. I'm not saying I know what the future holds, but it's going to be real interesting to see how this brand continues to evolve over the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And when we hit the 50th anniversary, while we're still doing our podcast, we'll see which one of us are left alive and which one of us.
I'll be playing the part of Dawn. I'll be the old one.
Can you believe they got
Are you-
joints and
are
all the
you-
fingers?
Back in my day,
Are you-
Luxus only cost
you
$35, and I liked it.
I'll still be here because
Well,
I'll be
sure,
able.
sure.
I'll be 150, and I will through sheer force of will, I will be on the.
Well, yeah.
We're gonna have you in one of
You'll still
those.
be here in front of the camera, but you'll be on a shelf inside of a DTOF on display.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have your head back here in one of those jars from Futurama.
No, it'll be weekend at Donnie's. You're sort of have my dead body propped up.
That'll work.
Voice of God in Spanish.
Las cucarachas entran, pero no pueden salir.
Okay, well, Rick, taking a break from the Devastator stuff, is there anything you want to talk about?
Well, we're kind of getting into the last part of the show here. I did want to
NFL
mention
Wingsaber.
it's TFCon weekend, and we're going to see a lot of new third-party stuff come out of TFCon. So I'm sure next week's show is going to be very interesting, and I would bet that the focus would be on episode 161, all the new reveals that come from TFCon, including the relaunch of my project from Play With This 2. So we're going to launch our Boneyard this weekend. He's up in Canada right now, and hope to get some good reaction from that. We're going to do another Kickstarter later this year. We got our Jet Strike prototype, just went off to the printer, so that'll be coming soon. So we'll see. I'm sure next week we'll have a lot of new third-party stuff to talk about, thanks to TFCon.
Speaking of third parties, there's plenty of third-party items you can get from, Mega Toy Fan. Maximize your collection with Mega Toy Fan. And CapturedPrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service.
And there's
That was a really good segue, Jen.
It was. I'm awesome like that.
That was a really good segue.
Well, I got a question for y'all. The voice of God in Spanish again. Hey, we have.
No, that's English.
Oh, okay. We have G1 Devastator, G2 Devastator. Okay, we have Combiner Wars, but these are not the only Devastators that we have gotten through the years. There's not been many, but what are y'all thoughts on the Devastators that we've gotten in the past, such as the Micromaster Devastator or Energon Devastator?
Look, there's a reason there's no third-party upgrade kit to the Energon Devastator.
I want an upgrade kit to the Action Master.
I think you know why. There's no.
It's because Constructicon Maximus was so awesome that he doesn't need him.
You know what? I've got my Bruticus upgrade kit, and I love the hell out of it. But I just don't think. I think they should have just done a Pretender shell that just fits around Constructicon Maximus.
There's not.
It's done.
Fans Projects did not have enough stuff to make Energon Maximus into something Constructicon Maximus, and there's not. Fans Project is like, we don't have the resources to make this thing good. We just can't do it. But I've got Micromaster Devastator. He's a cute little Devastator. I've got Energon Maximus, which will be going up for sale here soon. And there's what Jim mentioned, the
What?
The Bane, the one of my most hated concepts in Transformers that I personally hate.
His players.
No.
Oh.
Other than Metal Hawk and 2 or 3 of the G1 Pretenders, I mean not Pretenders, Action Masters.
See, I love Action Masters. I love Action Masters just because of how close of an interpretation it is from the animated series. So say what you will about them, Jim. We're from that Generation 1 toy line. We grew up with G1. Being a G1 fan, we grew up with it. I love Action Masters, man.
Well, one of my most cherished figures is Action Master Rad with Lionizer, so I mean they've got a special place in my heart too. But I just got to say that Action Masters in general, I think would benefit greatly from some kind of upgrade kit or accessory packs or something. Because I mean they're basically action figures. You've got the holes in the feet, you've got the fist holes and whatnot. I mean, it's just asking for something to be able to attach onto or maybe combine with. I don't know. It's a thought.
You about said action. You said Action Master Rad, and my first place was with Target Master Alexis. I don't know why my mind went there. That's the first place it went. I don't.
Wow.
That's probably not a good sign.
Headmaster Carlos.
Some poor robot talking.
You know what? Am I the only guy who wants a Verity figure or a Hunter?
Oh, no.
Verity.
That would be cool.
No, well, Rick.
IDW.
Yeah, well, Rick. For years at BotCon, I have said, use the GI Joe bodies and make human sets of figures. Give us if we have a year where there's an Armada toy, which I can't imagine an Armada toy fitting in anymore. But again, you never know.
We just had an Armada toy released within the last 6 months or last year. It's been a little more than 6 months now, but we had Armada Starscream.
Oh, I mean an actual Armada.
That's the issue.
Yeah,
I think the closest we got was that Dinobot in the Walmart exclusive 2-pack.
Yeah, that thing was garbage.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody said Armada.
Yeah.
In 2009 we had Hotshot, and then last year got Starscream, and then this year we got Megatron.
Yeah. But I've always said, use the Joe bodies, and they're doing that now for the only figures. But give us a Carlos, Rad, and Alexis. Give us a Kicker.
We already got a Kicker though, and we really don't.
Not being opposed to Kicker getting remolded into Alexis, Rad, and them.
Well, I would love to see a lot of the human characters from a lot of the different series come to light using the G.I. Joe bodies. I'm a G.I. Joe collector, so I kind of walk the line across both.
BotCon exclusive set. All the humans from all the series.
Well, I mean,
why not?
They make large Joe sets for JoeCon, obviously. But they could make that as one of the exclusives. Maybe, I don't think they could do every human, but it'd be nice if they did.
Oh, the iconic ones.
But see, where I want them to start, and Rick might agree with me here, is like what you say, Verity. I want them to start with the holographic projections that the More Than Meets the Eye cast uses when they go to planets.
See,
when they go on planets that don't use or that don't like robotic life forms. I want a whirl. That's really what I'm saying. Is I want a whirl figure, the holographic whirl.
And see, that's cool, but I see that as being the chase figure, the one that comes one to a pack.
Yeah.
I think you start with your Spike and your Spark Plug, and then you go your Chip, your Mercy Airborne.
We need a Chip figure. Yeah.
Gotta have Sorry Sundeck.
Well, it's interesting.
Sorry Sundeck, absolutely.
Yeah.
With and without armor.
And then, of course, Jack, Miko, and Raph, of course. Agent Fowler, June.
What was the one from RID?
You don't need June.
June would be fun.
Is that who June is? Sideburn used to chase her around in a red car? Okay.
No, that was...
I don't remember her getting a name.
Kelly. That was Kelly, I think.
Sure.
Red car lady.
But it's sort of weird you mentioned the planets. This is just a segue, I know, but I mentioned on RFC that with the Titan Wars, and we'll probably talk about that next week or we get a little more information. But the running theory is that there'll be the Transformers that we know will be piloting larger bodies, like transectors. And I mentioned that wouldn't it be cool if the fiction behind it is they crash landed on a planet kind of like from Child's Play, where all of the organic life forms are these huge, naturally big life forms. So they have to create these transectors to actually interact with the locals on a daily basis.
Nice.
So, it's sort of weird you mentioned that, because I had the same thought earlier in the week about, that's why they make these bodies, and they're piloting them as headmasters.
And that's how we got Fortress Minimus.
No. Fortress Maximal is who I want. I want two versions.
Fortress
You want
Max-
you want a big hairy Fortress Maximus? I mean,
Fortress
I'm
Max-
all for
No,
it.
no.
So do you want a Rodimus Primal as well?
Oh my goodness!
No.
I want a Rodimus right now. Someone give me a Rodimus.
No. Well, actually, you can repaint Thunderhoof. Repaint One Touch Thunderhoof into Rodimus Primal. No. What I want to see is what I would like to see is someone make my purple flying griffin from Aerial Assault and give it a robot mode, and then recolor that into Fortress Maximus colors, but call him Fortress Maximal.
That's kind of small.
Why would he be Fortress?
Because he at the time, based on the fiction, he would have been the base for the Transformers on this mythical planet where you have griffins.
They're pulling an osmosis show.
I think I killed Rick. Hey, the inside of my mind is an awesome place. If you can't handle it, tough.
It sounds like the inside of your mind is a vast wasteland of scary things and callbacks to 80s films, television series, and toy lines.
Because that's when stuff was
and
good.
a box for a cat.
If you wrote a young, a tween novel, you would sell millions. Just saying.
Sparkly vampires for everybody. No.
I'm still visualizing Fortress Maximus covered in hair.
Yeah, I'm trying to
figure
out how
you're
Rodimus
missing
will
the
work.
point.
He goes from King Kong to City Center.
I don't know, but all I can say is
giant robot.
a dude that transforms into a building, puberty hit him like a ton of bricks.
Oh.
I think with Rodimus, the horns would actually be like the yellow fins on the back.
Oh no!
Man, that's so awesome.
The horns would fold down to his arms and be his pipes on the arms.
Nah, they gotta be his fins.
Yeah, they gotta be the fins on the back, dude. Maybe
Maybe
the legs.
Moose
You know,
on his
So
back.
just like an all red Thunderhoof with yellow
Okay,
horns.
all right, okay.
Yeah, the legs with the hooves become the pipes on the arms, man.
Okay. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to mention this on Twitter, too. Everybody that's a fan, draw us your concept art of Rodimus Primal. I want to see this.
I want to see this. I mean, I think it's amazing.
If enough people post pictures, maybe a third party would pick it up and consider making it. Because I want a Rodimus Primal at this point.
Primal.
I want to.
Maybe we could get Plasticon to make us a custom one, just for that.
But you know he's just gonna make the
putting
G2 version.
Yeah,
that would be
It's
G2
Florida colors.
there's
or
gonna
gold
be a lot of
plastic.
pink and lime green.
Gold plastic.
Yes.
All right, that's going on Twitter right now.
All right. Well, I think we have rambled enough for tonight. And so for TFYLP, I want to thank everyone for listening. Keep track of us on Facebook, on our TFYLP public group. You can follow us on Twitter at TFYLP. And we will see you next week, where we talk about how awesome you guys' art for Rodimus Prime is. Please send that stuff in.
Maybe we'll see a third-party reveal at TFCon this weekend of Rodimus.
I hope so.
Never know.
Or
Like,
some other
hopefully someone was forward-thinking enough that they thought about that.
Or Erector as the beaver.
That would work too. It's sort of weird.
You know, beavers have that tooth, and they build dams, so his weapon is called the dental dam. All right, Jim, I think you need to catch your flight.
All right, guys.
All right.
Say goodbye to the audience.
Goodbye, audience.
Bye.
Bye.
And the voice of God.
Bye.